So we zoom out, right? And you look. Some people are so poor, all they have is money. This, in relationship to a guru, is understanding that you'll hear things and your mind wants to grab on to beliefs, right? So a guru will say, you only focus on what you need, not what you want. And to truly understand that, you may have to actually get what you desire, right? So I'm 26. I can feel it in my bones that I have certain karma to run through. And hence why I'm building business. I'm doing what I'm doing. Not to chase money, but because I can feel the vision in my heart is a life of wealth. Not wealth self centered so that I can be better or above others, but wealth in a manner in which you cannot pour what you don't have. You cannot share if your cup is empty, right? So it's important not to accept blindly what you hear from others. What you hear from me, I don't want you to agree nor disagree. I want you to listen and notice your own reactions as you're watching this video. Your own reactions are going to show you how you feel in your heart, right? And then that relationship between what you desire and what you need will get clear. And so this is a expansion of your consciousness as you start to notice, yeah, the things which I desire may not be what I need, but there are certain aspects of desire that need to be burnt out, right? So one example would be that I always loved fitness. I never really desired to build the jacked physique. I knew that I needed it, right? And when you approach your life on a God centered awareness, understanding that you can't share what you don't have, obviously your health is important. It's fundamental. Because if you're a poor example of health, then how are you ever going to share any form of health? Yeah? And then we look at Lao Tzu. If you like a flower, you pick it. If you love a flower, you water it. So a real guru, how do I put it? The word guru isn't even aligned with the word real. What I'm really saying here is if you're learning from a true teacher, a honest, genuine man of truth, he's going to water you. He's not going to try to teach you anything. Because the real wisdom in life, the real change in being, in energetic vibration, in awareness, it's all internal. It's all up to you. So if any form of a teacher has the essence of force or attachment, or you can feel, for example, this is a great example. It's from Jordan Peterson, but the thesis is true. Whereas the problem with a lot of therapists is they have to be a therapist for income. So, and of course, there are levels of teachers, right? At first, I thought I wanted to be a coach because it was a great way to make money and do what I liked. And then I realized, wait, I don't want to make any money through sharing wisdom. I don't have interest in that. Whereas if it comes naturally through YouTube monetization, I couldn't care less. That's just a natural thing. But to actually, and to preface or to add to that, I don't make these videos so I can get YouTube monetized. I make these videos because I've always had a message. I've been making videos for years, and it doesn't matter when or if ever I get monetized. What matters is that the right people find these videos. So ultimately, I'm, giving water to those who need water. It's not as if I'm focused on a certain goal. And so that can get tricky, right? Because you definitely need to keep your life simple and accomplish goals and execute. And hence the foundation of life, right? Exercise, business, have what you need, cover your foundation, budgeting, just simple health standards, having standards for yourself so that your cup is always full, right? If there's any simple way to lay out the context, the summary of what my standards for myself are. It's to follow a life that keeps me full, right? Because when I'm vital, when I'm clear, when I'm powerful, then I can share that. If not, then I'm basically picking the flower and not watering it. Now, what is right, even if no one does it. And what is wrong, even if everyone does it. And this is where real wisdom isn't going to have much to do with feeding your ego, with fitting in, with getting validation from others. Hermosi says it all the time. It's like when you need people to support you, no one's supporting you. And then when you don't need support, everyone's celebrating for you. That's pretty often the way that the universe invites the man out of the boy, right? Because the boy thinks that he wants people to support him. But then you realize that the only way to be a man is to see clearly that you have to be your main supporter. You have to be the man that you can depend on. And that's where you create a relationship with God. Because you get honest with yourself and you realize, man, this ego, this thinking, it doesn't have all the answers, right? A lot of the best answers come to you when you're on a walk, not thinking about business. Then you get business epiphanies, yeah? Same thing goes with like jujitsu. As I was learning jujitsu, my main premise was to not get ambitious in relationship to trying to be better than others. So I went through this phase as a white belt, and I would always start in bottom side control or bottom mount because I just wanted to work on my escapes. I knew that I had a athletic edge, a physical edge just from my background, my football, my boxing, the way that I live my life, my nutrition. And I didn't want to exploit that. And at first I was a bit sporadic, and then I calmed down. So then I put myself in that bottom side position very frequently. Now I'm at the point where I can feel my jujitsu like coming together, just like it happened in my football career, where I got good by not trying to get good. I got good by loving the moment. I got good by being present while doing the activity. Same thing goes for speaking to the camera, which has also correlated to speaking to any human in my life, right? You do the energetic work to understand your spiritual nature, and then that it grants you the business opportunities. It invites the connections into your life that if you had not done the work, you wouldn't have even been able to smell the aroma of the opportunity in that moment. And here, this is where we wrap up, really. Even on the path to peace, the last door is war. And what this is kind of saying is, I feel like I've traveled a path within that 0.0001 will ever travel. That being said, that's not something I'm going to perpetuate onto the world. I know in my heart that every single human can awaken. So what we're saying here is the last door is war. And that is that you don't aim to get rid of your ego. What you do is you learn everything about yourself, meaning the subtlest of your triggers, the way that your brain works, as in you have a stimulus, right? Usually the memory has a relationship to the stimulus, and the memory comes up to project onto the current moment. If you can use your awareness, right? The mind is a terrible master. It's a helpful servant. Your awareness is the master, which is your God-given connection to source. Awareness as in, right? You have the sky and the clouds are within the sky. Your thoughts are the clouds. The thoughts are derived via memory and the ego projecting onto the moment. But the sky is the God-given awareness. You don't get rid of the clouds. If you get rid of the clouds, then you're not here. You're poof, and that's how it works. But the last door is war because you're learning how to really have a symbiosis between ego and awareness. The ego changes as the awareness teaches. The awareness is used to observe the ego's tendencies, patterns, triggers, ways of thought, worldviews, beliefs, and just predictable, familiar, mechanical ways of living life, right? Because the juice in life, the freedom, the enlightenment in this realm is comprised within the moment. And the only way to live moment to moment is to notice what corrupts you from living moment to moment. And that is your thinking getting activated via memory and stimulus. Example that I'll end off with is essentially you in the past may have, maybe you had a dog, or maybe the neighbor's dog was always barking. And as a kid, you got frustrated by that. Maybe you just didn't pay attention. You were a kid and you just let your emotions run, right? So you got frustrated. Then you have this memory of that entire situation, that circumstance, that time of your life, right? And then when you're walking down the street now, 10 years later, you hear a dog bark. And that frustration, which was trapped in your spiritual being from the past because you never looked at it and understood it then, it arises again anew right now. And if you can understand the bridge between the stimulus of the dog barking as you're walking down the street currently and that past memory arising, if you can watch that relationship, that bridge, that connection, then you can start to unravel the nature of ego as it arises. When you do that, your relationship to God strengthens because you're basically, quote unquote, training yourself to live in the moment, right? And then when you live in the moment, you're not going to squander opportunities. You're not going to have motive or intent to force. When you don't force a key into a hole, you don't break the key, right? Alan Watts says that. So, if you enjoy this, we could work one-on-one. Just check the link down below. If you resonate, if this was on your level, just share it with a friend. I'd really appreciate that. Let's go. Have a great day.